Hello there, welcome back to Simon's Shed and welcome to Engage Part 2. Yes, can you believe it? It's only been 2 short years since I filmed Part 1. Sorry about that. Yes, I've been meaning to film Part 2 for quite some time. But I really needed a train set to show you the next bit of the journey into Engage. And I've been busy building layouts and spending the money on that, and I could never really justify spending my limited budget on a train set just for the sake of it. So yeah, that's the main reason for the delay. But I have now finally got my hands on a train set, and yeah, I'm ready now to make this part 2 of Welcome to Engage properly and show you some of the ups and downs of your first train set, because that is the main sort of focus. So let's take a look. And here it is, the train set. Yes, following on from part 1, I did recommend starting with a train set rather than trying to piece different bits together, track, controller, train yourself. I still think it's best to get it all in one bundle and go for a train set. They have gone up in price a little bit since part 1, but I guess most things have, to be honest. So the first thing I would say is really savour the moment. It is a special thing, whether you're 8 or 80, there's just something magical about opening a train set. Now, with this one, I didn't quite follow my own advice from part 1, which was to get a DCC ready train set. I just think a DCC ready train set gives yourself the most flexibility. This is actually a DC only set. There probably is a way to convert it to DCC, but it would definitely involve cutting wires and lots of fiddly soldering. So we'll leave that to one side, as this is supposed to be a welcome to Engage, i.e. aimed at beginners. I would still stick by my advice and recommend a set with a DCC ready loco, so that you've always got that DC controller handy if you buy another loco and it hasn't got a DCC chip in it when you buy it, which it probably won't have. Most locos are sold as DCC ready these days, so you can use that DC controller to test the new loco before you put a chip in it. If you do decide to go DCC, you may want to just stick with DC for now. Yeah, so even if your main setup ends up being DCC, you've got a controller to test it with. It just gives you the most flexibility. Okay, it's time to open the box and set up the track. Now, this particular set is a Hornby Arnold set, but I'll try and keep everything I say as generic and general as possible. So most of this stuff will apply to most, different manufacturers' tracks and controllers and so on. But yeah, the first thing we are going to focus on is the track, and most of the time with the track, what we're trying to do is, you can see that one rail here has what's called a fish plate on the end, so you can see that the rail of the next track is going to slide into there, and this just has a normal rail on this side because the other piece of track is going to have the fish plate over here, and it's going to connect onto there. Now, I know this is basic stuff, but it is worth saying because this can be quite fiddly. That may look like it's connected. If you just run your finger over there, I can feel a big bump there, which tells me this side's gone in, but this side I can feel a sharp edge there, so it hasn't gone into the fish plate properly. So it's worth knowing that little trick, and just see, that feels much smoother now. Definitely worth checking that. to make sure the track is nice and smooth. Okay, let's get the rest of the track set up. Okay, we are ready to run the train, but before I do, I just want to mention a couple of things about the track that may not be obvious. Certainly I do get a lot of questions on these issues posted on my comments. So the first thing is N-gauge track. Will, for example, this Arnold loco, will it run on Pico track or Kato track? And the answer is yes. N-gauge track is N-gauge track in terms of gauge means the distance between the rails, and N-gauge is 9mm between the rails. So in terms of the loco sitting on the rails properly, if it's an N-gauge loco, then it'll sit on any track that is N-gauge track. In terms of mixing different tracks from different manufacturers, it does get a little trickier. Simplest thing to do is just stick with one type. Some types do fit together, but you usually find that the rails sit at slightly different heights, so you have to pack one of them up, and yeah, it's not the best idea for smooth running. It is better just to stick to one if you can. So the other thing I just wanted to mention quickly was curve radius. Now I believe this is Arnold first radius track. First radius will be the tightest curve, and in this example it's 192mm radius, and they usually have second, third and fourth radius, sort of getting gentler as you go up the numbers. I think Pico N-gauge track is a bit sort of gentler. Their first radius is 9 inches, which is 228mm. Their second radius is over 10 inches, so that's 263mm. The general idea is, I mean, this first radius track will be fine for this little loco, but a bigger one with a lot more axles might struggle around the tighter curves, but it will usually say on the instructions to the loco itself what radius of track is the sort of minimum recommended. So something to watch out for on your next loco purchase. But obviously for the train set itself, they're not going to put in a loco that doesn't go around the curves in the track that's within the set. So just something to bear in mind. Probably worth a quick word about railing the vehicles. So the train and the whatever rolling stock you're given, pop it on the track and just try and move it, and you can clearly hear that that's not happy. It's not sitting on the track right. There is a knack to it, but just do that and then run it, and if it's nice and smooth, it's ready to go. And once it's doing that, then you can couple it up to the next bit of rolling stock, rather than trying to couple them up first. It's much easier to get each wagon on separately. There we go. And now the moment of truth. If everything is connected up correctly, we should be away. I do have a quick read. I know it's tempting to just get it running and not look at the instructions, but it is worth having a quick read because it will tell you if the loco needs any oil, and whether it needs running in, which essentially just means running it with nothing attached at a sort of medium to slow pace, usually for sort of half an hour in one direction, half an hour in another, just to get things bedded in. So this has obviously been running before, so I don't need to do that again. And the other question I get a lot is coupler compatibility. I found that most N-gauge stuff out of the box comes with this style of coupling, which is usually called rapido coupling. So if it looks like that, then you know, this stuff will connect to Dapol stuff and Graham Farish stuff, although Dapol do supply a different style of connector usually as an option, but it looks like most of the main manufacturers out of the box in N-gauge use this coupling. So if it's got that, you should be fine. So let's get the train going again, and let's talk about, this is obviously a DC train set. So if you buy a DC train set or a DCC ready train set, you'll be running it initially on DC. If you then move to DCC, so you've got one track and one controller that's DC, and you decide to upgrade and have a DCC controller, I would definitely advise against running a DC loco on DCC track. They can overheat and burn out very quickly. Definitely would not advise putting a DC loco on a DCC track. However, the other way around, it is actually possible to run a DCC loco on DC track. So we have, I've just parked the train up in the siding there and grabbed a DCC fitted loco. This little Class 08 shunter here is fitted with a DCC chip, and you can see it does actually run. Runs smoother on DCC track, but it does work on DC track. It is worth mentioning that there is a setting in the chips where you can disable this. So if you do put a train on DC track with a chip in and it doesn't work at all, it's probably needs a bit of reprogramming just to switch that feature back on. But that's kind of beyond the scope of this sort of beginner's video, but worth making you aware of it anyway. So that's all well and good, and it all works smoothly in this case, but sometimes it doesn't. So a few little tips for you if things don't work. Probably the first thing to check is whether the track's clean. To test that, you can just get a normal piece of paper and just give it a rub on the track. Now that's not too bad. If it was really dirty, there would be thicker black lines there, but it's a good way just to check how dirty the track is, and just give it a clean with a cloth that's not going to sort of disintegrate and get stuck in the joins. Something that's not going to leave fluff behind that's going to end up inside the loco gears. You can use a bit of isopropanol alcohol is a good track cleaner. There are sort of proprietary track cleaning fluids out there. That's a whole nother video in itself. But for a train set, a quick wipe over should do the job. So the second thing to check is, as I've mentioned before, run your finger over the fish plate joints. Make sure all the track is joined together, because remember, the power is going to the rails here, and we're relying on these fish plate joins to send the power around to the whole of the track. So just check all the joints in the track. Check the controller's plugged in properly, obviously, and check that the light comes on when you give it power. And there is one final little trick, which is kind of specific to N-gauge, but it's worth ruling out the loco itself. So if you have a 9-volt battery, you'll see that the poles are just the right width for N-gauge to sit them on the wheels, and you'll see, or at least hear, that the wheels are actually going around. I'll try and show you. There we go. So if we do that and the wheels move, we know that the problem is not with the loco. The loco's fine. So there we are, all up and running. I guess that leaves just one question. What's next? First thing I would recommend, some train sets just come with a loop of track. You don't get any of these, which are referred to either as turnouts or points, and you really should get at least one of these because they do add a lot more interest to the set. You can obviously create a siding and shunt wagons in and out of there, so even if you do get one, worth getting another, so you can just create more shunting possibilities and more interest for the set. And as I said, probably best to stick with the same manufacturer of track that came in the set initially. Then of course you can look at expanding your fleet of locos, and this can be a very expensive hobby, so try and find a little niche that interests you, whether it be old steam engines or European rolling stock or more modern British locomotives. I'm sure you'll find something of interest. And yes, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of Welcome to N-Gage. If you do have any more questions, please let me know down below in the comments, and if we do get a lot of questions and a lot of common themes, then I may do a part 3, or in fact I may take this set and start a new series of how to build a simple model railway based on this set, and putting it on a board and adding some scenery around it and so on, because obviously that is the next sort of big step in getting started in N-Gage. But until then, thanks very much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe for more updates to come. Cheers!